Hey, this is a sequence that I learned from Tia Sensoria Little of Prajna Yoga in Santa Fe, New Mexico last summer. It's for the health of the SI joint. This is my partner and model, Jerry. And he's going to start by just lying in Shavasana for a few minutes. I've got his legs supported to support his low back with a bolster under the backs of his knees, and his head is supported on a blanket. Those things aren't necessary. You can use them if you like. Just make sure when you lie down that you're completely comfortable and that you're able to just drop in. So I'll have him start with 10 to 20 good deep breaths here. He's relaxing his abdomen so that he can pull the breath all the way down into his belly and fully expand the rib cage with his inhale. And he's filling more and more, getting to capacity, and then releasing completely and allowing that stillness at the end of the exhale, helping his body drop and relax and let go before he takes his next inhale. He's letting the weight of his bones drop. The organ body is dropping toward the floor. His throat is soft, his face is soft, jaw relaxed, forehead relaxed. And I would ask him to do a little inventory once he's been here for a while of all of his various tension holding spots on his body, and consciously take a breath into those areas if they feel like they're still hard holding or guarding, and relax on the exhale. Try to release any tension that he's holding there. And in a couple more breaths, we'll start the movement part of the sequence. So just little by little, let your breath come back to its more normal, everyday rhythm. You continue to let yourself drop, let your bones be heavy, flesh soft, just resting into the floor. And then please bend your knees so I can take the support out. And then take your legs out as if you were standing in Tadasana. So he's doing mountain pose with his legs here to begin with, and then I'm going to have him relax his left leg, and with his right leg staying as grounded as he can all along the back side of his body. On the inhale, he's going to push his heel into my hand, and on the exhale, he's going to release it. So go ahead and push your heel. So there's not a lot of motion here. There's not much to see at the on the leg, but there's a lot of action going on in the SI joint here. So he's just working with the breath, inhaling and pushing into my hand or into the space where my hand was, and exhaling, releasing. Or you can do that a dozen or so times, just working with the breath. And try to keep the rest of the body as relaxed as you can. Good, and then after his next one, I'll have him come to stillness. And he'll take a resting breath in neutral, just noticing what he feels around the back of his pelvis, around the SI joints, and in the low back. And then we'll have him bring his legs to Tadasana again. And he'll do the same thing again on the left leg. So he can relax that right leg, and inhale, push the left leg into my hand, and then when I remove my hand, he'll push into the space where my hand was. He's keeping his upper body nice and quiet, his head nice and quiet. It's always a good idea to close your eyes when you're doing a sequence like this so that you don't get a lot of stimulus from the outside world. And you might, if you're following along with this, you might notice if one side feels more mobile than the other, if there's more holding or more guarding in one side. Good. And then after his next one, I'll have him relax again. Go ahead, just let the feet flop out, have a moment of Shavasana, and just feel into your low back and your SI area. Good, and then we'll up the ante a little bit and bring a little more of the body into this motion. So come back to Tadasana in the legs. And now as he pushes his left heel, his right heel into my hand, he's going to hike up his left hip. So he begins to bring a little bit of side bend into the body. So go ahead. You can see that there's more action now up around his waist and torso area. So we'll do this half a dozen times or so. Try to leave this leg as grounded as you can, even though you're hiking the hip up. Yes, good. Good. Take a resting breath in neutral, and then we'll go to the other side. So now the right hip will hike up when the left heel pushes. Good. So just bringing a little more motion to that low back area, mobilizing a little bit more, and yet staying really grounded and steady on the floor. Alright, so he'll take a couple resting breaths here. I'm going to remove the support from under his head. And he's going to take his hands behind his head, clasping his hands. And now this can be a little confusing. It's a little counterintuitive because you're going to push with one heel and side bend the other way, which doesn't always make sense right away. So he's going to push with his right heel and side bend to the left, sliding his upper body toward the left while hiking this hip up. We'll try to keep this shoulder on the floor if you can. Good. And then come out and stay on the same side. So inhale as you bend. He's pushing the right leg, side bending to the left and hiking up the left hip. So you can see we just started with mobilizing just to the sacrum, and then we brought the low back in when we added the side bend. And now with the arms participating in the side bend, we're getting all the way up to the top of the spine here. So being that everything is connected and works together, we're just building, like stacking more and more layers onto the movement here. And do one more. And rest, take a rest, let everything ground again, let go. Good. And then we'll do the other side. I would ask him to clasp his hands the other way with the other thumb in front, the other pinky in the bottom. Doesn't really matter that much, but just a nice little detail to add. And then he'll be pushing with the left heel, side bending to the right, and hiking up the right hip there. Good. And it's he's on a blanket here, which provides a nice sliding surface. You can set up whatever works for you. If you find this is too much friction with whatever you're wearing on the blanket, then feel free to try something else that's slicker. But this works pretty well. And he's inhaling as he comes into the movement, and exhaling as he releases it. All right, do one more. Nice. All right, and then just release your arms. Do you want that support back under your head, or are you okay? Okay. Good. Okay, now please bend your knees, put your feet flat on the floor, and cross your right knee over your left. Good. So, your legs may not be able to cross even this well. He's got a pretty good range of motion. Some legs, when knee crosses over knee, may look more like this. Some people may be limited, and you may be more like in this range. So Jerry's about right in the middle here. He's still got a good contact there between the two knees, and it'll serve for this next motion. So he's going to, on the inhale, drop both knees about halfway down to the right, and then exhale, bring them back up. And early in the exercise here, be kind of conservative, maybe don't drop down so far, especially if you're in a lot of pain. Never go into any pain with these motions at all, and so you may not even come halfway down. On the other hand, when you test the waters and come halfway down, it feels okay to go further, then you can come all the way down to a natural end of your range here. He's inhaling on the way down, exhaling on the way back up, and he's keeping his left foot on the floor there. He's just rolling over onto the inner left foot and then coming back up onto the sole. And one last thing about this motion, instead of recruiting a lot of core and low back muscles to hike the legs back up, pull from the front of the bottom thigh. So go one more time, babe. He's pulling from the front of this leg here when he comes back up. Good. All right, and then uncross, take a rest. And let the organ body settle. And then go ahead, bend your knees. Go the other way. So left knee over right. And again, your range of motion may look like this. It may look different. The idea is that the legs are joined. And now on the inhale, he'll swing the knees down to the left. And on the exhale, pull them back up. So start kind of conservative, start about halfway. Of course, if halfway brings pain, then don't go that far. And try to think of pulling with the front of the bottom hip. So pulling from the front of the right thigh and the right hip flexors there, rather than cranking at the low back or the belly. And you can see a little bit better on this side how his bottom leg foot stays on the floor. He just tips over onto the inner edge and then comes back up onto the sole. He's keeping his upper body nice and quiet. Good. You can do one more, please. And then go ahead and uncross, and if you like, you can stretch the legs out, take a couple breaths rest. Good. So you can do more or fewer of those, depending on how you like it and what it seems to do for you. It's not a set number. You can time yourself, you can do a number of reps, whatever makes sense for you. And so we're going to get a little bit deeper into the low back with the next movement. So bend your right knee, leave your left leg straight. So now he's going to swing his knee out into sort of a tree pose shape, and then swing it back across the midline on the exhale, and lift the hips and arch his low back off the floor just a little bit. Good. And then repeat. So inhale, the knee swings out. Exhale, swing it across the midline. The knee comes across the midline, foot stays on the floor, and he's just going to lift the hips and arch the spine a little bit at the very top of each motion there. So at the end of every exhale, his low back is just a little bit arched away from the floor. And if you like, you can use your arms here to help stabilize you, or provide a little extra support. You can hear how well he's matching his breath to the movement. Good, do one more, please. Excellent. And then go ahead and stretch that right leg out. Take a couple breaths of rest. Good, and then go ahead. And so he starts by sweeping the knee out to the side into a tree pose shape. Good, and then bringing it back up. And taking the knee across the midline and lifting the hips, arching the low spine away from the floor just a little bit. Depending on whether you're in pain or where your tightnesses are, you may get more of your low back up off the floor or less than he is. Just go by what feels right to you. You don't want to push into any kind of pain or strain. Beautiful. About 3 more. Good. And then last one here. And he's resting again. This is a good time to check in and see how your low back is feeling. Notice if you're listing to one side or the other. Notice if the warmth that's been created in the area of the low back and SI has changed. Any sense of tightness or stiffness. Good, and then one knee at a time. Please draw your knees into your chest. And cross one shin over the other. And reach down and grab whatever you can grab there. You can grab the feet or the shins. Good. So you want to make sure, whatever you're able to grab here, that your head is able to relax back. So it's putting a little bit of strain on his neck. So I might give him a little extra head support here. See if he likes that. Is that okay? Too much?
Too much.
Okay. How's that? Try that. Is that okay? Okay. Because the head, if you're straining to hold the head up so that you can reach the feet, it's going to defeat the purpose. You won't be able to relax. So just take a few big deep breaths here. This is helping spread open the SI area. There's external rotation in the thigh bones and flexion in the hips. So the whole back of the pelvis is spreading here. And take one more nice big deep breath. And then go ahead and release. Just set your feet down for a moment. And then we'll cross the shins the other way. Whenever you're ready, bring the one knee at a time into the belly. And cross the other shin over. Good. Reach down, grab the feet. So this is a good opportunity to notice whether one shin in front of, whether the left shin or the right shin in front creates more stretch for you. Just a good thing to know. Keeping his head weight relaxed, taking nice full breaths. Big breaths into the rib cage here since the abdomen's a little compressed. Good. And take one more big breath there. So you may also, if crossing at the shins doesn't do much for you, you can also do this same exercise crossing at the knees, and you can grab the feet or the shins, whatever works for you. You want to go as far as you can without creating any strain or discomfort, and go ahead and release. And roll onto your right side, and I'm going to give you a softer pillow here. And he's going to come into a fetal position on his right side with his knees bent pretty close into his chest. Now if you're, bring them down just a little bit, be at a right angle. If you're very tight and sore in the low back, you can bring the knees closer to the chest. If you have a lot of mobility, you can have the knees a little bit lower than the hips. But this is a good starting place here. And he's going to put his left palm on his right palm. And he's going to keep his knee bones and ankle bones pretty precisely matched up here. We're moving the twist up the spine now into the thoracic area. And on the inhale, he's going to lift his left palm toward the ceiling, sweeping it up. He can follow that with his gaze if he likes, and open into the twist. And on the exhale, he'll close up. And ideally, you might have a little more room so you can get to your full range of motion. But here, we're stabilizing the sacrum and the back of the pelvis. Go ahead, on your inhale, sweep up. By keeping the knee bones and ankle bones matched up, the pelvis doesn't turn, just the spine above the sacrum. So he's getting a nice opening, loosening, breath enabled twist here. Inhaling, spreading open, and exhaling, closing up. You can do about a half a dozen of these, so he's got a couple more. Really great, long, slow, smooth, full breath. So important. Good. All right, last one here. And then he's going to roll over onto his left side and take the same shape. And do make sure that your head is supported here. You know, for some people it's okay to have the neck hanging, but I think for this kind of sequence it's much better. Go ahead and start whenever you're ready. It's much better to have the neck aligned so that there's no strain translating down through the spine at all. So keeping his knee bones and ankle bones nicely matched. You can see from this angle how stable his pelvis is, and that all of this twist is going into the thoracic and upper back. He's following okay. Keep your knees together and your ankles. Good. So inhaling as he swings open, exhaling as he swings back across. And he can follow the fingertips with his gaze if he likes. And the pelvis is not twisting here, it's staying nice and stable as he keeps his knees together. Good, and then just take one more. Very nice. And then just go ahead and roll over onto your back for a sec. Just take a couple resting breaths. And then we're going to come to standing. Pick up the blanket at this point. So Jerry's going to belt his calves. So make a nice big loop in your belt and then step into it. And bring your feet about hip width apart, toes straight ahead, a little bit narrower than that. Yeah, there you go. Good Tadasana stance. And then I'm going to make this quite snug right around the thickest part of his calves. And his work here is to break out against the strap, turning on the whole side seam, outside seam of both legs. And then we're going to bring him into a supported forward bend with the upper body so that the spine can relax down. And I think one more blanket. So put a little bend, soft bend in your knees and fold forward, bring your forearms to the support here and let your head rest. And you can step back a little bit if you feel like a little cramped there. And he's bending his knees, which is fine because we're more concerned about what the side seams are doing, the outside seams are doing than the hamstrings. Make your toes a little bit narrower, toes straight ahead, good. Really push out against the strap. Legs are working hard, upper body is softening as much as possible, head weight nice and heavy and relaxed. Pushing down through the heels, lifting and spreading the sit bones, and really letting that exhale lengthen out so that the upper body relaxes even though the legs are working quite hard here. Try to unclench your toes if you can. Good. Good. So 6 to 10 breaths here. You don't want to over fatigue the muscles. If it becomes tedious, please back off before it becomes no fun. But do feel, especially see if you can take a big in-breath down into the back of the pelvis and feel how this action of turning on those outer thigh muscles spreads the back of the pelvis open. Good. Take one more big exhale. And then step your feet towards each other so the belt slackens and drops down. Good. And go ahead and come up. Good. And then we're just going to take regular old tree pose. Not emphasizing the balance, but instead just allowing the bent leg hip to drop down. Sometimes when we do tree pose, we hike up that tree leg hip, and so here we're just going to train to keep the pelvis nice and stable and level. So standing on the left foot, make your toes straight ahead, please. And then go ahead and bring your right foot up into tree pose. And you can see when he first hikes the knee up, the hip hikes up too. But he's going to release that right hip down and not worry too much about balance. The chair's here just for some stability. Also, I'm not having him pull the knee back because that actually creates some compression in the sacrum. Good. All right. And go ahead and move the chair to the other side. So right foot, right toes straight ahead. Very good. And pressing down through that right heel. And left leg comes into tree pose. So heel pressing down, whole inseam pressing down. Good. And this hip dropping. Good. And no emphasis on bringing the knee back. Just let the knee drop. Let this whole side of the body drop so the pelvis is level. Nice, slow, smooth, even breath. Very good. And then go ahead and release this side. And now I'm going to have him come down onto his belly. Head this way is fine. And this is the part, these next couple parts here, you will need some help. takes a little bit of manual encouragement of the muscles to move down away from the low back. So Tia Surya called the muscles here right below the crest of the pelvis, the UBMs, the upper butt muscles. So I'm going to catch the heels of my hands right below the rim of the pelvis and push towards his feet pretty firmly, and not pressing down, but pressing in the direction of the feet so that everything in here lengthens out. And you can give a couple good exhales there. This feels really nice usually. Good. Alright, and then he'll do prone tree pose. So bend your right knee into tree pose, please. Good. And so you can see how the right hip is moved away from the floor a little bit. And then you just do that same adjustment again. So moving the UBMs away from the low back. And he's continuing to breathe nice and deeply and relax as much as he can. And then we're going to do a little adjustment on the tree leg here. And I'm using a towel so that I don't pinch his skin. So wrapping the towel under the inner thigh. And then bringing my hands under and supporting the inner thigh as I, little by little, give it a little shake and tease it away from the midline bit by bit. So lifting and pulling just bit by bit. The knee is moving away from the midline, and this hip will lower down, and then his work is to drop his right side down toward the floor any amount that he can, and maybe twist the navel just a little bit to the left. So after he's been there for a little bit and allowed gravity to do its work, I'll come back in and give it another little tease here. Good. And just let that marinate for a moment. Good. And then we'll do the other side. Take the towel out, and he'll come into tree pose on his left side. Good. So same thing again, starting with moving the UBMs down away from the lumbar, decompressing the low back. Good. And then same thing again on this side, just to prevent any pinching of the skin. I'll tuck the blanket under here. And then just give a little tug, little wiggle, little tug, little wiggle, and create some space there in the groin, and a little space in the back of the pelvis. And then his work is to try to drop this side of his body to the floor, and possibly even give a little bit of a twist around the navel area, twisting away from the tree leg. And just let him sit there for a moment. Gravity, allowing him to drop in. Very nice. And then go ahead and stretch that leg out. I'll remove the towel, and I'll have him roll over and move aside for just a second. I'm going to set up a cradle for his Shavasana. It's a sacral cradle. I'm going to build out of 4 blocks, and if you don't have 4 blocks, you could improvise the same sort of setup. The idea being that the sacrum sits in this wide V-like cradle so that the sacrum itself can drop down while the wings of the back of the pelvis are held up. It just helps create some space in the SI. There's different ways you can support this on either end. In Jerry's case, we're going to support his upper body. So he will come to this side and crouch down over the bolster, or he's got another idea here. You can sit on the end of the bolster. Good. And then he'll go ahead and lift up and set his sacrum right there in that cradle. And this is a little awkward the first time you get into it. Sometimes the blocks slip, so it probably takes a little trial and error to get this right. But on the sticky mat here, the block is not sliding. It's sticking quite well, and it's should feel very stable. So make sure you're as centered as you can be in there. And I'm going to support his head a little bit more. Is that okay? You want a little more? Okay, good. And then you could support the legs here too. So just to show that, I'll have him lift his legs just a bit and go ahead and relax there. He's comfortable with his legs unsupported. That may not work for everybody, especially if you're tight in the fronts of the thighs, the fronts of the hips. So I would ask him to externally rotate his upper arms here so he can get his knuckles on the floor, if he can. The other way, yep. Good, is that okay? Mm-hmm. Good. And so he's just going to take about 5 to 10 minutes in Shavasana here. You feel like you're even from side to side? Mm-hmm. Good. All right. Just let yourself drop. And I'll see if the Shavasana assistants are available still. A little bit of Shavasana assistance here. Alright, so he will stay here as long as he likes in Shavasana. Just allowing his breath to come and go, letting go, and allowing his body to integrate all that good work. So thank you so much to T.S. and Surya Little. This is Ann Constantino. Namaste.